Number one, the social media trap. If you're Gen Z, there's a high chance you grew up with a phone in your hand, and that changes everything. For older generations, school ended the moment you got home. If you embarrassed yourself in class, the worst case scenario was a few kids talking about it for a week. Today, one awkward video can be clipped, uploaded, and replayed thousands of times before you even walk through your front door. Apps like Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat promise connection, but they also create a nonstop competition. Everyone is showing the best version of themselves. Filtered skin, vacations you can't afford, bodies shaped by strict gym routines, or even cosmetic surgery. When that's the feed you scroll through every night, it's hard not to feel like your own life is falling short. And it's not just about looks. People flex their grades, jobs, or even how perfect their friendships appear to be. The pressure hits hard because there's no off switch. The phone is always in your pocket. This constant comparison leaves people anxious, depressed, and struggling with low self-esteem. Number two, the money wall. For many in Gen Z, the future feels like it comes with a price tag they'll never be able to afford. College costs have skyrocketed. Rent in most cities eats up half your paycheck. Even fast food feels like fine dining now. You walk into McDonald's for a quick burger and leave wondering if you should have invested in gold instead. And that's before you even think about cars, health insurance, or buying a house. For many young people, home ownership feels less like a milestone and more like a museum exhibit from another era. Older generations love to say, just work hard, as if it's that simple. But the math doesn't add up anymore. A part-time job at the mall used to cover rent in the 1980s. Today, you'd need 2 or 3 jobs just to scrape by. And even then, you're barely covering your bills. If you're Gen Z, you've watched your parents and older siblings struggle under the weight of student loans and credit card debt, and you're terrified of ending up in the same trap. Number three, the dating freeze. Dating used to start young. Your parents might tell stories about high school dances, meeting their first boyfriend or girlfriend at 16, or even getting engaged right after college. For Gen Z, it's different. Fewer teens are dating at all, and many enter adulthood without any real relationship experience. Why? Part of it goes back to money and social spaces. When hanging out costs more and public places feel less welcoming, casual dating becomes harder. A simple coffee date now feels like a small financial investment. Even sitting in a diner too long can get you side-eyed by the staff. Add the pressure of grades, jobs, and side hustles, and many young people just don't feel they have the time or energy to focus on relationships. By the time you finish school, work, and that extra food delivery shift, the only romance you have energy for is with your pillow. Dating has also shifted online. Apps like Tinder or Hinge are now the main entry points, but they come with their own stress. Swiping means quick judgment. You can be rejected 100 times in a single night, and ghosting is so common it feels normal. That kind of trial and error makes dating feel less like romance and more like a job interview. The result? Many Gen Zers report feeling unprepared for adult relationships. Some avoid dating altogether, while others struggle with anxiety around intimacy. For a generation already facing loneliness, the fact that even dating feels out of reach makes the mental health picture even tougher. Number four, the ChatGPT shortcut. Gen Z grew up with the internet in their pockets, but AI has taken it to another level. Tools like ChatGPT were meant to be helpers, but for many young people, they've become a crutch. Need to write an essay? Just ask the program. Struggling with math homework? Type it in. Don't know how to reply to a text? Maybe ChatGPT can help. Even art projects can be finished in seconds with a few prompts. At first, it feels like a cheat code. School assignments take half the time, and you get to avoid the stress of staring at a blank screen. It's like skipping the tutorial level and jumping straight to the boss fight, except you never learn the controls. The trade-off is real. If the machine does the hard thinking, you don't build the skill yourself. Teachers are already noticing gaps. Students who lean too heavily on AI often feel lost when it comes time to work independently. Some Gen Z students even brag online about writing entire college papers with AI. That might get you through one semester, but what happens when you face a job interview or an exam where the bot can't bail you out? The same tech that feels like a safety net can also make the ground less stable beneath your feet. Number 5. School shootings and safety anxiety. For Gen Z, school hasn't always felt like a safe place. Alongside homework, tests, and friendship drama, many also grew up with active shooter drills. Kids are taught where to hide, how to barricade doors, and what to do if someone with a gun walks into the building. Some even joke that they know more about hide-and-seek extreme edition than they do about algebra. But that kind of lesson sticks with you. Instead of just practicing fire drills or tornado drills, kids were learning how to push desks against doors and stay silent in a corner. Telling children to practice what to do if a shooter shows up sends a very different message. The danger isn't random, it's other people. That leaves you with a constant sense of fear that's hard to shake. Even when nothing happens, the headlines make it worse. News about school shootings pops up so often that the stories blur together, but every time young people see themselves in them. For some, it's not just on TV, it's close to home. Maybe their own school went on lockdown, or one nearby did. Number 6. The sleep crisis. For many teens, getting enough sleep feels more like a rare treat than a normal routine. Most are supposed to get around 8 hours a night, but surveys show many only manage 5 or 6 at best. At this point, a full night's rest feels rarer than finding a free charger at the airport. The reasons pile up quickly. Phones buzz late into the night with group chats, TikToks, and endless scrolling. Games don't stop at bedtime either. When your friends are online at 1 a.m., it's hard to log off without feeling like you're missing out. And even when the phone is down, the stress lingers. Homework deadlines, money worries, or just the habit of checking one more thing keep brains racing long after the lights go out. Some teens even say they can't fall asleep without a video playing in the background, meaning the blue light keeps them half awake anyway. Lack of sleep isn't just about being tired in class the next day. Over time, it affects mood, focus, and even physical health. Anxiety feels worse. Small problems hit harder, and your body never fully recharges. Doctors call it a mental health risk. Gen Z calls it normal. Number 7. The side hustle grind. For many in Gen Z, having one job just isn't enough. It's common to see people juggling 3 side hustles just to stay afloat. One day you're delivering food, the next you're flipping clothes online, and by the weekend you're freelancing for someone halfway across the world. Hustle culture makes it look empowering, like you're building an empire before 25. In reality, it feels more like spinning plates, and the first things to fall are usually sleep, health, and your social life. Older generations talk about working their way up in one company. Gen Z talks about whether to take another Uber shift or risk trying to sell handmade jewelry on Amazon. It's constant problem solving, but without the stability or benefits that once came with real jobs. No health insurance, no retirement plan, not even the guarantee that next week's schedule will look the same. And it's not just about money. Hustle culture has turned free time into something people feel guilty about. If you're not working, you're told you're falling behind. Even hobbies get monetized. Streaming becomes a grind, crafts become side businesses, and every talent is expected to pay rent. By the end of it, chasing your dreams can feel less like a choice and more like unpaid overtime with a catchy slogan. Number 8, the housing shuffle. Even after landing a job, living alone feels out of reach for many in Gen Z. Instead, life turns into a constant shuffle, rotating between roommates, moving back in with parents, or squeezing into tiny apartments where rent climbs like a video game boss fight. You finally get comfortable in one place, and then the landlord decides it's time for a market adjustment, which is just code for good luck finding a new couch to crash on. Privacy is rare. A bedroom often doubles as an office, and the kitchen might be the only quiet place to take a call. Moving stops feeling like a milestone and more like an annual routine. Boxes don't even get fully unpacked anymore, because deep down, you know you'll be packing them again soon. The dream of owning a home feels even further away. Where older generations bought starter houses in their 20s, Gen Z scrolls Zillow listings like they're looking at fantasy castles. Prices don't match paychecks. Interest rates are brutal. And even renting a decent one-bedroom can swallow half your income before groceries. All of this makes home feel temporary, like you're just a guest in your own life. People might joke about it online, but the reality is tougher. It's hard to build stability when your living situation changes as often as your phone plan. Number 9, the attention economy. Every app is fighting for your focus. TikTok, YouTube, Discord, video games, all competing to be the first thing you tap when you wake up. Notifications don't just show up, they pile on like junk mail you never asked for. Even schoolwork has to battle for attention against 5 group chats buzzing at once, each one convinced it's urgent. The result is constant overload. You sit down to study, and before you know it, half an hour has disappeared into just one more video. The phone isn't even hidden anymore. It sits on the desk like a second teacher, except louder and way more fun. No wonder focus feels harder to hold. The brain itself starts working like a browser with too many tabs open. Some are frozen, some are lagging, and one is definitely playing music you can't find. When everything is competing at once, even simple tasks feel like juggling. And distraction isn't an accident. The platforms are built to keep you hooked, to make logging off feel like falling behind. Rest gets interrupted by streaks, alerts, and updates that never stop rolling in. After a while, it feels less like you're using the apps and more like the apps are using you. Number 10, the digital footprint to older generations could mess up and move on. Say something dumb at school, embarrass yourself at a party. By next week, most people forgot. For Gen Z, mistakes don't fade. They get screenshotted, uploaded, and stored on the internet forever. Growing up online means your awkward middle school posts, cringy selfies, and old usernames are still floating around. What started as a joke in 7th grade can resurface years later when you're applying for jobs or trying to look professional. It's like carrying a time capsule you never agreed to bury. Even casual moments can follow you. A single bad take on Twitter, a weird TikTok you thought was funny at 2 a.m., or a photo tagged by a friend can suddenly become the first thing people see when they Google your name. That permanent record used to exist only in school. Now it exists everywhere. For Gen Z, the pressure is always there. Every post, every comment, every photo might be judged years later. The internet doesn't forget, and sometimes it doesn't forgive. Growing up feels less like trial and error and more like living under permanent surveillance with a laugh track.